What's up, guys? It's John with National Sports Entertainment. And as promised, I want to hit our 1 o'clock games, most of them at least. And I already covered a 4 o'clock game just because I think the line might move and it's good to get in on the money line. They did with the Cowboys, by the way, last week. They opened at like 13.5 as I went into in my very last video. And then there was a Trey Diggs injury, and then they were 11. Now they're suddenly talking about Debo might not play, and Ayuk might not play, and Jennings is not going to play, and how Purdy's... So I'm going to go into the whole narrative aspect. Purdy is a system quarterback, right? And without his guys, he's nothing, and you stop McCaffrey, well, that's basically it. So I can already see those seeds being planted. I wanted to show this because, again, I do everything I go into is just if I notice something, I put it out there. Again, we could have a 3-hour-long perfect circle video of every number sequence in the world, but I just don't do that. Gematria goes both ways. I went into that, but I found something else very interesting here. I was thinking about Brock, and I've long since held the belief that there's a Brock Lesnar-Brock Purdy connection, and I think there's a connection between Philadelphia, San Francisco, and Arizona. It's hard to explain. Maybe I'm sure you guys get similar vibes where you just feel intuitively teams seem connected. With those three teams, things seem to be connected. We had the Eagles just play a Super Bowl, obviously, in Arizona, and this coming WrestleMania is in Philadelphia. Paul Heyman's Philly, and he is obviously known for being Brock Lesnar's guy, and Brock is obviously Brock San Francisco. Paul Heyman's now with Roman Reigns. He is from San Francisco. There's a lot that ties in. It's weird, and it goes forever to explain. But the reason I want to show you this is, let's look at Brock Lesnar's second fight, which ended his undefeated streak. It was a modest undefeated streak, but an undefeated streak it was. Well, first thing that's interesting is 13 seconds, or a minute and 30 seconds, 13. So Brock lost in a minute and 30. And what makes it more interesting to me is the date. Now, again, a lot of the, I could be one of these guys and say, oh, breaking point, BP, Brock Purdy. And then if it goes the other way, flip it. That's not what we do on this channel, I almost... and there's nothing wrong if you're posting Gematria on my channel. Paul, you post some pretty good stuff. And a lot of people do. But it's just when it's obviously it can play both sides. But I do find the initials interesting. But look at the date. It's February 2nd, right? And I had just gone in my last video how 101 is this date. So we have 202 and now we have 101. Like, I don't know the odds. Actually, I do know the odds. They're exponentially rare of that happening. 404, so April 4th. And there's only 2 other days in the year that could have made, that would, 2 days in the year, February 2nd. Or, like I said, on the opposite side of that, I guess you'd have, if you doubled it, right, February 2nd, you'd have 404, April 4th. So there's only 2 days in the year that can coincide with this, and we just happen to get the 101 day coinciding with UFC 81. And I swear I brought that up earlier. I said, it's an important number. Let's keep our eyes out for it. And I think this is the benefit of doing, like when I do Gematria, doing it this way, because we're not playing detective trying to cram puzzle pieces in and then just call it a painting or, call it a masterpiece. What we're doing is, as we see new things, we're able to make new assessments and then add to it. So, sure enough, Week 18 was the last time to play the Cardinals. I went into that. You can see it all here. That was my last video. And it was, again, Week 18 on January 8th. So, UFC 81, 8-1, 1-8, 101, 202. Purdy, Brock, 13 seconds. It was a minute and 30 seconds, I'm sorry. Again, some people can't admit when they're wrong. I like to do that. So, a minute and 13 seconds. Just, again, it's just too much, in my opinion, of these numbers adding up. So, I like the Cardinals even more. And, again, for the narrative purpose, I like them because they're already going into the injuries. They're going into this, then they might not have their guys. The exact same excuse that they were able to beat the Cowboys with, they said, the Diggs emotional stress. The same reason the Lions were able to beat the Chiefs. And it's going to be like that with a lot of games. So I want to go into basically the whole schedule that we haven't covered. But we did have a game tonight. And again, this game was my own fault because I went against my own metric, and had I not, we would have been fine. So I've gone into multiple times how what I do in college basketball and college football and every sport, but since I don't really watch these two and it works the best, I do it with these. If you look at sequence number, again, I do all these live, so you can check any of them back. Sequence number 41. And we had the North Carolina State winning. And it was for one particular reason. I had them winning because they had not won a game against the spread. Sorry about that, my cigarette went out. Anyway, they had not won a game against the spread, and I had gone into, you're not going to have teams just not win against the spread. People are going to fade those teams, things of that nature. So you might ask, well, why didn't you pick the spread? Well, my answer would be, it was a 3.5 point spread, and I got a little greedy and decided that we would go for the straight up win. So you can see that NC State 0-4. They're going to move to 1-4 because they did win tonight. It's just not updated, I'm guessing. But they actually did cover the spread. It was a 3.5 point spread. They did cover it. And if I just stuck to instead of getting a little greedy, if I just stuck to what I always, bring up and what I always advise others to do and just played the metric of the spread, I would have won. So it's fine. That's the reason I do my system. It wasn't like it was a leg 3 loss or anything. I was just trying to get good value. But we would have hit that had I just, again, imposed good logic. And since, again, my whole play is they suck against the spread, I'm going to take them to cover it. Whether that spread was 2 points or 20, I should have just gone with the spread. So, again, that's just something where it happens in baseball a lot too, where it's just so many times you'd be surprised how many times the team just covers the spread, and you think, oh, what are the odds? 3 point game. And again, there's been a lot of short clips this year, but I just thought I'll go for the 150, the plus 150 value. It looked a little appealing, so that was a loss. We only really played the one game there, and then, like I said, I wanted to go into all of these games. A lot of these are narratives based, so I think you guys should enjoy them because last week we had a lot of random matchups, and this week I'm noticing a lot more either narratives or weird lines. So I'm not going to hit them all. Right off the bat, I went into the Jags. We're rolling with them as a leg 3. It's our first leg in the Fade Dion parlay. I suppose USC is going to be, but for those odds, I mean, you could add them, but it's just not advisable in my opinion. And obviously, I'm playing Colorado to cover that spread. They'll probably cover exactly 21. Fun fact, this game, they're admittedly saying, has some of the highest action of any game in the history. They're saying how much money is pouring in. Meanwhile, the spread started at 21.5 and hasn't budged. It hasn't budged for a minute. So, I bring up to people, how can it not, if the books are really on the up and up, they should be these lines should be moving one way or another. There's no way we're getting 50-50 perfect action down the middle. It just tells me that they already have the winner determined. So Jags, I already went into the Dolphins-Bills. I went into them, I think 2 videos ago. It's pretty simple. I like the Dolphins. People brought up the prospect of Hamlin returning, which, of course, I don't like. But I think they're going to run who can go undefeated longer, the Dolphins or the Eagles. That's just what I think they're going to do. And I don't think they're going to blow it here. Again, it can go both ways because I brought up with Purdy. I had to be fair. You could say, oh, well, the Dolphins could lose, drop the 3-1 Marino. But again, they're really talking about Marino more on Purdy's side. They're not really bringing him up yet on the Dolphins side. But sure, it could happen. But I like the Dolphins. I think they're going to win this game. I think more public still needs to see more from the Dolphins. So I had gone into that, obviously. Broncos-Bears, here's an interesting one because you have 2 shitty teams. And there's a good narrative for each of them, obviously. The Broncos narrative is, when is Russell going to get benched? Even though it's a ridiculous narrative, they're pushing it. And then Russell versus Peyton. And then on the other end, we have, obviously, the Bears, and Fields is not really being treated like he's going to be the future. That all being said, I still think more people are going to be on the Broncos this game. I think people see Russell Wilson and just kind of pick him, assume he's going to turn it around. I understand they just got shellacked, but so did the Bears. So they both got shellacked. And I do think that more people are going to be on the Broncos. I could be wrong, but I like the Bears here. So you can see it's a 3.5, I think. So I'm going to take the Bears here on the money line. I think it's just a good value play. Sure, we could get another, cover no win or win no cover. Yeah, cover no win. But I like the Bears, and the tiebreaker is going to be because the game's at 1:00 on 101 and Fields is number 1. So I'm going to make it a leg 1 just because it's not one I'm absolutely in love with. But I do like it, so just bear with me. And I'm not going to type every single one of these. I just basically want to show you exactly how I pick my games. Bears to beat the Broncos. You're going to be getting about 155 for that. I typed this live. I know it could be a little redundant, but the reason I do is for the people that, if it's your first time watching the video, then you'll see every single time we're picking our picks live. I'm not just saying it or after the fact saying I told you so. So I'll run through them in a second, and a lot of them we have picked already anyway. But yeah, I think the Bears are going to win that game. Ravens-Browns, a very interesting one. This one I do like the Browns, mostly because I understand that the Ravens just lost to a backup quarterback, but at the same time, their defense still looked good, and we have to remember the Browns, they just blew out the Titans. I get that as well, but I still find the line to be a little suspicious when you think about that. So I have a good feeling, and again, it's what a lot of people I try and bring up. Not every game is going to be, beating the public. If you look down the schedule, you're going to see a handful of games where the public is getting paid, and this is a game where you're going to get action, but I don't see people fighting to take a divisional matchup, 2-point spread, not much value on either end, with two teams that they don't really have a read on. So again, it's not a game I absolutely love, but I do think that the Browns are going to win this game, and I think some teams have to retain their dignity at home. For the most part, I think they're going to pull the switcheroo and have, like I said, a lot of away teams in these divisional matchups win. It's why I have the Dolphins winning. It's why I had the Lions winning. I think they're going to do that because people are more inclined to take the team at home. Just in this case, again, no Nick Chubb still. I think people are looking on paper. If they're going to pick, they're going to probably lean Ravens. And again, I think there's going to be some questions around. They want to see, hey, are the Ravens legit or not? So, to me, the Browns need this win a lot more. The Ravens can always get back in the hunt. Starting the Browns off 3-1 would be exciting for the fan base. Watson has really yet to have a great game. So, actually, he might have beat up Tennessee. I think he did. But again, that's nothing crazy. But yeah, so I like the Browns here. And again, they're giving up 2 points. That's fine. I'll lay the 2 points on that one. Again, we could see some weird shenanigans, but I'll lay the 2 points there. This one, I absolutely... It's one that... Maybe it's because of C.J. Stroud, but I find it interesting that the Texans are minus 2.5 here, or... I'm sorry, plus 2.5. I would think the way that they treated the Steelers, the way they just did very well against the Rams, not the Rams, the Browns. They're doing pretty good. Beat the Raiders. I don't know why the Texans, who, again, outside of Stroud, haven't looked that good, would be this close in this game. Again, they're at home, so I guess you can use that reason and that logic. I don't think the Steelers are going to have that big of a year. I think they're overhyping the Steelers on purpose. So I think it's just to get the public. So on this one, I like the Texans and I like the cover. Normally, I would like the win, but I swear I could see this being a 2.5 point game, and I could certainly see it being a 3-point game. I'm going to personally buy a half point to 3, so I'm going to get the Texans plus 3 at minus 130. It's only a leg one, or it's like +3 at minus 130. It's only a leg one, so I don't mind it too much. And then this is another very interesting one, this Vikings-Panthers one. A couple of these next one I might not play. And just real quick, like I said, just this is also, people can just see it's all live. I like to be the one channel that can make that claim. So I'm going to take the cover here, like I said. I think they'll make the... Again, it's a game where it could be a 1 or 2 point game, but I'm not going to get juiced out the entire year because I'm taking the money line and it's just going to keep biting me. So I do like this one here. And as I said, I like the Texans. This one I do like buying the half just because it's the Texans and Steelers. I can certainly see it being a game where it's a 3 point game. So I like the +3 here. And we're probably looking at about 125, or sorry, minus 125. If we're not getting exact even juice, I always try and designate it like plus 155 there. Just so, again, you can see exactly what we're going to be getting. Your book might vary like 5 or 10 points, but I don't think it's going to vary that much. So, yeah, I like the Browns here to cover. And like I said, I like the Texans to cover buying the half point, which is going to make it about minus 125. Now, Rams-Colts, I'm not playing that game. It's just a game. I don't see the reason to play it. I can see an argument for both teams. I'd probably lean Colts, but again, there's no reason to play every game just to play it. And there's another game that I really like here. And it goes in with a theory that I brought up 2 or 3 times now. And the theory is the Vikings not only finish with the worst record in the division, but possibly the worst record in the NFL. If Carolina gets the first pick, they're not drafting Caleb Williams. And I don't see Caleb Williams not being a first rate. It's just they need to book him as a first overall pick, in my opinion. So I think the Vikings... Now, again, the winner of this game doesn't mean that the other team's definitely going to finish last. But I think between the line, people are probably looking at the Vikings like last year. Oh, they lost a lot of close games this year. That's all. You know, they're still playing really well. They're a much better team. All these different things. And I think they're going to lose another close game. So this one, again, it's a great one because you're getting about 180 to take the Panthers to win straight up, and that's my pick. Again, I think we're going to see a game where the Vikings just somehow find a way to keep selling. You know, they drive down the field, fumble, drive down the field, sacked out of field goal range, something of that nature. And the Panthers, I think they're going to come out and win the game. This one I like because we have Jameis playing against his old team, so you got the revenge angle. And I think more people are going to be on New Orleans and Jameis for that reason. Now, they've done this before where they brought him in and he just hasn't been impressive. It's hard to explain. But we also have Jameis versus Baker. And I find that to be a very interesting, obviously, Florida State, right? Jameis is from Florida State. So I think, he's playing Tampa, he's playing Baker, Oklahoma guy. Not much of a connection there, but I do like Jameis to win this game, and I think that the Saints are going to beat the Bucs. Now, you can see it's a 3-point spread. That's fine. I have no problem lying the 3 points again. I don't like taking money lines unless it's like just really like so close. If it's a 1.5, sometimes I will because I feel like that's suspicious when I see a 1.5. So I'll take the money line. But yeah, I like the Panthers here for the straight up win. It's about 180, and I like I said, the Saints here to cover. So, and we're almost finished. And yeah, I think the Vikings are going to get the last pick because again, finish last, get Caleb, reunite him with Addison, Jefferson. When the news is talking all about Caleb and all these potential teams, but they're not mentioning the Vikings, but Vegas doesn't have them doing well, I feel like there's a reason. So, again, I think that'd be a great prop if you can get in on it. If you notice, I'm doing a lot of these as leg 1s because, I've already locked quite a bit of leg 2s and leg 3s. We got the Colorado, in college, we got Colorado covering as a leg 3. And in the NFL, obviously, we have the Jag. I got the Bills as a leg 2. So, I don't want to make, we don't have enough leg 2s and leg 3s for me to run them as leg 2s, leg 3s. And I don't love these games. I like them. I try and save the ones as you see we do a pretty good job at leg threes, the last one being the Lions Packers, because I try and save the better picks for leg two, leg three. Not that I try and pick bad picks, but there are ones that I do like more than others. And then again, I do have a couple home teams winning, which I don't love, but I think it's fine. I also think they're not going to continue having Baker look the way he does, but having the Saints look like a contender with the Falcons just makes more sense to me than the Bucs Falcons. I think post Brady, the Falcons team is going to be much different. So this leaves us a few more. We got Bengals Titans, and again, I always pick wrong with the Titans, but I'm just looking at the spread. I don't have to look much farther. I like them to cover, and I'm taking the cover. The 2.5 is fine. I have a feeling it's going to be like a 1 point game. And sure, they could win the game, but I think it might be a very lousy Cincinnati victory. After they just looked okay against the Rams, and the Titans got blown out by the Chubless Browns, I don't understand the line at all. So, again, I'll take the 2.5 because I think it might be like a 2 point game. I've been looking out for the 2.5s a lot this year, just for that possibility. Which leaves us one last pick for the 1 o'clock games, and it is I think it's our second Fade Dion game, right? We got, oh no, it's our third. We have the Browns beating the Ravens, of course, and again, that was the first reason I like that game is because it's fading Dion, who's going to lose. And then our other Fade Dion game is the London game, where I think the Jaguars are going to handedly defeat the Falcons. This one, again, it's going to be part of the parlay, but again, you're not going to want to pick it straight up by itself. So -9, I've noticed it moved from like 7 to 9. And while the Eagles have been doing well, and I think they want to pitch the Redskins or the Commanders as a competent team, I do think this is going to be a game where we really see the Eagles tee off. They've won by 14, 6, and 5. They really haven't had a Chiefs victory. They haven't had a Cowboys victory, a 49ers victory. So, to me, especially because they haven't, I think people are going to take the Commanders getting almost 10 points. I think the line's a little heavy. So, heavy for the Commanders. I think it's a little light for the Eagles to be laying. Again, I do think the line could be closer to like 7, even though they're at home. I just don't think it's a great line. So, I like the Eagles to cover it. I think more people are going to be on the +9. And again, from a narrative perspective, the Eagles have not really covered a big spread yet. So this is a great way to get people, okay, it's not just Dallas and San Francisco. If the Eagles have a great game, San Francisco doesn't win or doesn't look too good, and at the same time, we just had Dallas lose and they lost Diggs, I think it makes perfect sense that the Eagles look really good. I think they're really going to push the Eagles and Dolphins, both of those teams. So this one might move a little more. I'm not sure. It's already moved a little bit, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think it's going to be a 2-score victory. I think it's going to be a 2-touchdown victory. And you know what? We can make this one a leg 2 because whenever I see big spreads like this, I do like them more because, again, I just feel like people don't like laying 10 points like that. Especially, again, it's not like the Commanders are a terrible team. So now we're just looking for our last leg, 1 loss. We might not even have one. Like I said, we've closed basically all of our sequences. You can see I have college ones pushed in for a lot of our leg 2, leg 3s. Okay, sequence 15, UConn covers FIU. That didn't work out, so bam. That's exactly how the system works. As simple as that. And by sticking to it, that's why we're up over 20 units again since football season started alone. We did over 100 netted last year in football season. And it's because we get to pick our spots, but you can see how many plays we've made. And so now we have 55 sequences, I believe. And the only one we're not playing is the Rams Colts. So, I mean, if you really want to know, like, it's just one I feel like it can go either way. It's a complete coin flip. Titans, I would normally not play that one, but I find this line to be incredibly suspicious. So yeah, I wanted to hit all the 1 o'clock games. I thought it'd be a lot better than covering them separately. I covered the Niners on their own because I thought it was a very interesting game. I covered the Bills on their own because I thought it was an interesting game. And I covered obviously the Lions. And then I covered the Jags Falcons, again, because I thought it was an interesting narrative game. Again, a lot of these I feel like they have narratives, more long-term narratives. And then a lot I feel like are just some simple traps. The Texans looks like one. The Vikings looks like a good plus value. Like, you have to imagine the public. I don't see many people laying down a lot of money for the Panthers. If they're going to do that, they're probably going to do it with a team like the Commanders where they can get paid more, or they're just going to, for one less point, go with the Bucs to beat the Saints. So it's really, people always bring like these books lines to my attention, like, oh, the Vegas handle is this and that. And not to sound cocky, but I've been way more accurate than 90% of the Vegas handles that have been brought to my attention, because they purposely give out misleading numbers. They do it all the time. They did it in the U.S. Open. They said Hovland was one of the biggest liabilities. He won back-to-back tournaments. They're not going out of their way to tell you guys this. Like, there's no reason they'd be telling us this stuff unless they were trying to invoke some gambling psychology. So I just try and use common sense. So for example, someone told me, yeah, people are slamming the Panthers. I would question the source they got that from. I just don't think it would make much sense. So yeah, I think we're going to have a good week. We've already been doing really good. I have about 8 or 10 college plays. Again, we started it off with a loss with NC State, which is fine. I'll plug in a leg 3 for that. But you can see we got Duke winning. I like this one. They're really pushing. I think is their quarterback Drake May. I forget who their quarterback, but they're really pushing Duke and the quarterback. I think they're going to continue that undefeated streak, and it's good value. Michigan, Nebraska is because Michigan hasn't gone over. Stanford covers because Oregon hasn't been covered. So again, these are simple metrics, which would be 1-0 right now in this week if I had just stuck with NC State, who lost by 3. They were getting 3.5, but you live, you learn. So all these picks again are ones. Oh yeah, we did get our first one. We got Jacksonville State, Sam Houston over because they hadn't gone over all year. I think Jacksonville State hadn't gone over all year. So this one is officially a loss. We'll plug in a leg 3. Again, we're going to pick our spots. So with most of our sequences closed, there's no reason to rush a game like Eagles cover as a leg 3 when leg 2 is where I think this one belongs. It could definitely be a close divisional game. I just think they're going to give the Eagles a good opportunity here. But yeah, let me know what you think. Like I said, we have a good bit of open sequences, which is, leg 1s, which is good because we get 2 more cracks at it if we lose. And I tried to get some plus odds in there. So we got the Panthers plus odds, Bears plus odds, Duke plus odds, and I think we're going to hit at least one of those 3. And Duke is one I especially like. Again, Notre Dame, I just have a feeling. Now, you could say they want Notre Dame to look strong, and this, they just had a rough week. If they lose again, they could. It might not be great, but there's only so many teams to push at the end of the day, and I think they push players more than the teams. And Duke's players are being pushed more. Like I said, their quarterback's really getting love. I always get them mixed up in college, but I do think they have Drake May, who's like a favorite to win the Heisman. So yeah, it's really interesting. And yeah, just if you don't forget, my absolute favorite play is Colorado to cover USC. Very weird. It's been stuck on 21.5. Of course, the Dion number 0.5. I really think it's going to be exactly a 21-point game. I don't know why I keep thinking that, but it just makes perfect sense to me. And they can do it in a way where, 58-37, where now that'd be pretty high scoring, but it doesn't make Colorado look that weak. It could just be USC pulled away or something of that nature. And who knows, maybe it's even closer. I just don't see another bloodbath. I think they did a great job of getting the entire nation off of Colorado with one fell swoop by having them destroyed by Bo Nix. People look at Caleb. His worst win this year was his recent one where he won by like It was either 14 points or 24, but I think it was 14. But there's just really nothing, in my opinion, that's going to get people on Colorado, despite some of these fake articles saying 99% of the money coming in is on Colorado. You have people probably taking the money line because of Dion and because of Shador, but not nearly enough for Vegas to pay it out. Like, it just doesn't make sense. You're going to have way more people hammering the USC spread and probably taking the under, thinking that Colorado's not going to score. That's the reason at 73 it's really high, and they just put up 42 in there, or I think it was 36-6 or 42-6 or 48. They were in the 40s against Oregon, so they're saying it's going to be almost double against USC. I find that suspect, so I do like the over in that game as well. So if you're going to play an over-under, I'd play the over. But I'm personally just, since it's a leg 3, I'm just going with the one, what I think is simple. Colorado's going to cover that spread. So yeah, here's all of our picks. I thought the Brock Lesnar, 1881, Kobe Bryant, Feinstein, I went into all of it in my last video. Thing was really interesting. And I didn't even know about UFC 81 and him losing his undefeated streak and a minute and 30 seconds in until I just was perusing through some Brock Lesnar stuff because I thought it was interesting. And he lost, so I think his hometown Minnesota Vikings are going to lose as well. So, and then, the 101-202, really interesting. Just people have been telling me all year that they've been noticing twos everywhere, the 2-2s. That's when the Super Bowl is. There's no way it's all coincidental. There's just no possible way that these numbers come up so routinely. So, we have all the picks out. I thought it'd be better to do it this way, condense them. That way you don't have to, watch a bunch of different videos. If there's a game I really like or there's a reason that's going to take me 15 minutes to explain it, then of course I make a video by itself. But again, the most important thing is getting the picks out, the system, so you guys can tail me and we can keep beating Vegas because, again, that's the reason I do this. It's good to go into the narratives. It's fun to go into the symbolism, the gematria. But at the end of the day, the goal is to win. The goal is to profit where we were not profiting before. And if even 10 people are tailing all these picks, that's 250 units about netted because we're around 25 units netted. Again, open sequences notwithstanding, we put our winnings into that, so it's 25 before we bet the new sequences, so it's still 25 net. But yeah, if even 10 people are following, we're doing very, very well. So that's all I can hope for is more people winning. And I have a lot of people telling me, even if they don't use my picks, like, man, ever since I used the discipline system and cut it off at 3, I've been doing better than ever before. And then you combine it with the fact that they rig the games, and you have hedge opportunities too. So say the Cardinals go up like last week, we had so many people on a 70-1 parlay that could have cashed out before the game and still got crazy odds. And then once it was 50-50, guaranteed 35-1. So definitely, a lot of upside to trying to snuff out the narratives. It's the reason I go into a lot of these. It's the reason I like plus favorite teams because you can almost guarantee hedges. Obviously, a 150 isn't really going to be hedgeable too much, but when you're getting parlays, and we are officially playing the Fade Dion parlay, just so you know, if I haven't made that clear, I went in the last couple of weeks I've been going into it, so it's about 70-1, and I'll lock. Let me see something. Yeah, I'll get the exact odds on it, but now, however much you want to put on it, that's your discretion on this one because it's one of those where you could bet a unit. It's $25. You'll do very good. I'm personally going to do a unit on it. I know it sounds insane, but why not? I did like $13 on it last week, and it came through very well. So $12 more isn't anything crazy. So I personally love this parlay. I think we're going to do fine on it. Let's see. We got the Ravens, Commanders, Eagles, Lions, Falcons, okay. And this is the one that, again, I might as well go into it, I guess. I like to wait until 4 because just in case there is a, say our Dion parlay falls through, that might make this one fall through. So I'll probably be putting out a video on the Patriots Cowboys in the middle of the 1 o'clock games when we see what's going on with some of these teams. But to be honest, I kind of like the Patriots anyway. It seems like one they could definitely win. And I find 6.5 at home, even after just getting beat, I find that to be pretty light, to be honest. So it's an interesting one. Both teams can go to 2-2. We just went over the 2-2s. They love doing that. So, yeah, I think there's a good chance the Patriots are going to win this game. I'll probably take them on the spread. But like I said, for the Fade Dion parlay, they're definitely going in the money line parlay. I would also suggest whether you want to split it or just do 2 parlays, you can try, because as much as I like the Cardinals, last week I'd gone into this. The 49ers did win. Now then, Dion hadn't played yet. Then Dion played, and then the 4 teams lost, which I found very interesting. And there's 2 theories that have been discussed that people are telling me, like it could be this. I personally think it's exactly literal. I think it's because it's Dion's teams following suit, and they were beforehand. But there is that possibility. It's a little sign letting us know, hey, the 49ers are legit. They're the one team that's going to buck the trend and win no matter what. So I would suggest running the same parlay with the 4 teams minus the Niners, just in case. Dion talked about how the Niners, the 94 Niners, are the best team he's ever been a part of. They were so much better than any other team. So the love they're getting is pretty crazy. So in case the Cardinals, even though I have a lot of conviction in the Cardinals, as you can see, there's absolutely no harm in playing the 4-team parlay. Again, the 4-team parlay paid 60-something to 1 because I picked it after the Niners lost. I picked the 4 teams, and that paid about 60 to 1 last week. So now we had the Colts in there. It was 2+ odds. But with the Patriots in there, it's still going to be a good parlay. At 50-50 with the Ravens, it'll be a fine parlay. So I personally think, and we got basically another 50-50 with the Jags. So we'll see what happens in the morning, obviously, Sunday morning. That'll start off the parlay leg. And if the ones hit, then, again, we're almost already in hedge potential, which is really nice. And I find it interesting that the Niners are going to probably be, well, it's the Niners-Cowboys, the last 2 teams determining this parlay most likely. I really think we're going to be 3-0 rolling into it. So we'll have to see what happens. So yeah, a little bit longer video, but again, I'd rather get all the picks out there, every game out there for you guys to do whatever you want with. And I just also wanted to make sure I was clear that I think it's smart to play the Dion parlay and then just without San Francisco, because they may be treating them differently just based off of what I've seen this year. So it's always important to reassess and again, they're not going to run the same thing the entire year. I know there's some people out there that think they will. They're like just running with this new thing, and to me it was just another thing we noticed. It was like it's nothing new. It was definitely more over the target than anything we've called before, but it's nothing new. We always notice new trends. Hey, all these teams won. All the red, white, and blue teams won on Memorial Day. Hutch brought that up. Hey, all the cat teams won on National Cat Day. It happens very often. So a lot of it's caught after the fact. I remember last year when Black Panther came out, I had picked the Falcons to win, and then PJ Walker came out, he was playing in the game. He was starting. I didn't know the Black Panther was being released that weekend, and people had pointed out, hey, the Black Panther won. So there's like a lot of stuff you're just not going to notice ahead of time, but all we can do is do our best to try and snuff out the narratives. And then most importantly, because it completely takes out any of the stress and any of the riggery, any of the heartbreak, just running the system. We've been killing it. And again, I bring it up almost every video because if there's one new person watching, you might be saying, yeah, okay, prove it. Well, watch video 1. You'll see me talking about how the Browns are going to cover the Jets. Watch video 2. You'll see how me talking about how Notre Dame is going to win. Every one of these games, and again, wins and losses, I can't stand something more than excuses, and, you get that a lot where it's like, oh, well, we would have got it right, but they flipped the script on us. Like, the amount of delusion to that statement is laughable. I do think that they flip scripts, but they're not flipping a script because of any one channel. So I stick to the system, and, again, of all the things that have been copied from me, I'm surprised this hasn't, because it's a winner. and there's so many people that are tailing and winning because of it. You can see we don't get many 3-leg losses. A 3-leg loss is only 7 units that we lost. So if you go down the list and add these up, we're winning way more. Again, we're around the 20s. I'll do an official tally after this weekend because we have, as you can see, quite a bit of. We have a leg 3 pending here for the Jags. We have a leg 2 here. Again, I got the Dolphins winning. So we have a couple pending, but it's just one of these things where we just picking metrics, spreads, narratives, and not going crazy with. I never go into a wormhole with one particular thing. I don't just use numbers. I do just use numbers with the system. As far as that, I mean, leg 1, leg 2, leg 3, the numbers are going to bear out at the end. Simple as that. Profit 1 unit or more per sequence. Close it out after 3 losses. But I don't go into the, Vanderbilt equals 47, and they can move to 47 on the prime ordinal under this head coach after his 3rd Taco Tuesday of the week. And the other team happens to be Phoenix, and in Phoenix they have National Taco Day, and they can it's ridiculous some of the stuff that I see in here, and the bounds that are reached to. So I don't do that because as long as we're profiting, again, if it's not fixed, don't break it. If it's not broke, don't fix it. So yeah, I like these plays, and the biggest thing I can stress is just sticking to the system, being disciplined. So many times people will be like, oh yeah, I took all your plays, put them in a parlay, and almost won. And it's like, well, you would have won if we just stuck to the system because, again, Vegas loves parlays. Now, we're doing this parlay, of course, but as you can see, it's an extreme outlier. We've done 2 parlays all year. This is going to be the second one. And it's literally because of the fact that I just am 100% believing in this whole Dion rub. It's a very interesting thing. So yeah, let me know what you think. Like I said, playing every game but the Colts, and if you think I'm wrong on some of these narratives, obviously it's subjective. But if you think I think the Titans game's right, or I think the Commanders are going to be close, or whatever you think, I think the Steelers are going to win, the Vikings aren't starting 0-4. Yeah, just let me know. Obviously, I love nothing more than dialogue. And if there's a game you really want me to go into more, or like a 4 o'clock game, I'll be covering them, obviously. But if you really want me to go into like the meat of the 4 o'clock games, let me know. We've already covered half of them, essentially. So there's not many games to go into except the primetime one, which is going to be a fun one, Jets-Chiefs. Been really pretty. I think we've hit every Jets pick except one this year. I could be wrong. Lions have been the best. They've paid us every week, so I don't think that's going to change. Oh, wait a second. Why did I put Lions in here? I think it's because of my survivor pool. I was going to go with the Jags or the Lions, and I went with the Jags, and I was kicking myself because it would have been over with, and I really was convinced with the Lions. I have them both as leg 3s, obviously, on here, so I like them about the same. But, yeah, I was going to go with the Lions, and I'm like, you know what, I think the Jags in London needed a little more, so I wound up putting it on the Jags. So those survivor pools are like rigs anyway. They probably have bots in there and things of that nature. But who knows? Maybe it hits right. As long as I pick right, there's nothing they can do. So, again, almost impossible to win those things, but I always fall for it. So we'll see what happens. I appreciate everybody. Again, we're doing really good, and that's with a lot of crap we've been dealing with. And I appreciate everybody that's always providing insight. And again, YouTube is still trolling me with the thumbnails. I'm sure you see my thumbnails. So, like, this is what you should be seeing. Like, this is, again, when these other people cry that they're being, like, shadow banned. Like, you should be seeing these pictures, right? Like, these are what I use. These are what I use for our picks. And nothing's changed. I've done it all year. I've done it since I've started. And what you're seeing when you scroll, the Mr. Beast video, if you're interested in that. But what you're seeing when you scroll is this. You're just seeing, like, me scroll, like, it's just showing this as my thumbnail. So I appreciate you guys for even clicking on it, because I wouldn't click on something that looked that unappealing. I can't find a way around it. Like, I put my thumbnail up, and no matter what I put up, it just replaces it with this. I actually have yet to see it on any other channel, so I'm not sure why it's happening. I have an idea, but just some of the games that we get to deal with, So, yeah, hopefully you guys do well this week, tailing. I think we're going to have a good week. Had a really good week last week, college and the NFL. This week, 1-1 so far in college. We had the, obviously, Sam Houston win, and then NC State. I should have stuck with the spread. We would have been 2-0, so that's my fault. So I'll be doing that going forward. I'm rarely going to be taking spread teams that I'm picking on that metric to win outright or lose outright because it's just counterintuitive. So take care, everybody, and happy earnings.